And then there's Uncle Frank on Film Threat Reviews. Hi, I'm Alan Ning, and I'm with Zarna Kit, and today we review Uncle Frank. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment below on what you thought about this Alan Ball feature. It's 1973. Frank and his 18-year-old niece, Beth, decide to take a road trip home from Manhattan to Creeksville, South Carolina, when the family patriarch passes away, and they're unexpectedly joined by Frank's lover, Walid. This is written and directed by Alan Ball, stars Paul Bettany, Sophia Lillis, Peter Mandisi, Steve Zahn, Judy Greer, Margo Martindale, and Stephen Root. Who doesn't love Stephen Root? This is kind of it's an interesting road trip film. What did you think of Uncle Frank?
Well, I felt it had these very clear, distinct acts where only one part was a road trip. Because at first you're thinking this is a coming of age story about a young girl, because the story is told through her eyes. It's her coming of age when she goes to New York to go to school, to where her uncle is a professor, and that's where she finds out he is gay. But then the grandfather, the patriarch of the family, dies, and they embark on a road trip to come back. So then that's another phase of the film. And then you get, and which is why it's so perfect that this film is coming out on Thanksgiving, you get the assembly of the family for this funeral and will reading, which of course mayhem ensues. But the thing is it's not so much this girl's coming of age story. It's more a coming out story that's told in a series of these very moving flashbacks that only give you parts of the puzzle. And it's not until the very end that the flashbacks coalesce with the funeral, where really everything truly comes together.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about LGBT stories coming out recently is that they're taking place in the past. We reviewed Dating Amber, which was kind of mid-90s. This is early 70s. And the 90s and especially the 70s were a time in which, coming out was, not only taboo, but there were consequences to everything about your life if people knew. And, Frank's family is very religious, very conservative, very Christian. And so that's, I guess ultimately what I'm saying is that these stories have been told. They've been told a lot. We talked about Dating Amber. This is not an unusual story, but saying that, this is a really good story. Alan Ball has a very solid structure from start to finish. Frank's story of standing up for the one he loves, coming out to his family, whether he does it or not, and then having the only person in that family with him who likes him at all, and having to deal with that, and then this huge shocker that occurs at near the end of the movie. The performances are amazing. Stephen Root, I know him mostly from comedy, but you always want to be on his good side. That's what I'll say about that. Paul Bettany is especially good. The ending I liked. Maybe it was, not the ending I was hoping. It was definitely not an American Beauty ending.
Well, so for me, the ending is the one criticism that I had, because after the big explosion where
where something happened.
Yes, where the S hits the fan. I felt that things wrapped up rather quickly. Like it was like, okay, so let's just go through each family member and see where they stand on the issue, and then end the movie. Like that's what it felt like to me. So everything else had a really nice pace and was moving so nicely. And I just felt all of a sudden it's as if someone said, okay, wrap up the film. So we'll just quickly just put a bow on here and call it a day. So the ending was the one thing that I was not that keen of. It just felt so rushed. But Paul Bettany he was fantastic. Mm-hmm. He really embodied this character. And at first, you see him as this super cool uncle, and you're like, wow, like of course she's gonna look up to him. He's so cool. But then, there are some demons underneath, and he is not everything like that. He was able to compartmentalize his life, where he was free and open to certain people and extremely closed off and secretive to others. And when you keep worlds like that apart, and then something forces them to collide, well, then of course things are going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the nature of movies. It's you mentioned it. Frank is living a very comfortable life with Walid. As far as he's concerned, he doesn't ever have to go back to his family until an event occurs where he has to go back to the family, and there is all that tension there, and I think it captures as much as that kind of journey can in one movie, where he has to come to grips with who he is. Deal with the ramifications of his family maybe finding out, and then also, well, what do you do about your lover, your partner? What does that person really mean to you? And then you add the 70s to it, and there's a lot of drinking involved, and that's what makes Uncle Frank's character so deep, and it covers a lot of ground, and that's what I love about this movie.
I agreed 100%. And the fact that even the smallest of parts have amazing performances, like Margo Martindale. She doesn't have that much to do here, but when she is on screen, she's so significant. Steve Zahn, Judy Greer, again, not big parts at all, but you still get a full sense of these characters and who they are and what they entail. And that's to Alan Ball's credit as a screenwriter. In every one of his projects, be they feature films or television shows, he is able to create these fully fleshed out characters where it's truly, there are no small parts, just all actors.
Yeah, I think that goes to the ending again. Thinking about American Beauty, there's such a dark edge to that story that I don't think necessarily exists in this one. It's fairly straightforward.
And in fact, this film has a balance between a lot of comedic moments where you could, on one hand, said, yeah, this could be a comedy, but then there's these very tragic moments where it's very much dramatic. So it has both sides of the coin here. Like, it just enough of those moments to just sort of like, let you laugh a little bit to ease on the tension, and then pulls you right back into just some serious trauma.
Yeah. So I'm thinking that you liked it. You thought it was a fairly solid film, good story overall, great performances. I'll say an 8, but maybe you gave it a 9?
I gave it a 9. I gave it a 9 because I really was fully engrossed in this film. Once it started, I was really, really into it. And it always, I always say that, like, if I'm thinking about a movie afterwards and wonder what those characters are up to now, or what they're doing, or how their lives are like, then that to me is a mark of a really good movie, because it's left a mark on me. And I sort of feel that way with these characters as well. They didn't seem false to me at all. I think that you really like this film too, but I always find that once we get into something higher,
Avengers territory,
you have a totally different system in there. I don't think you gave this movie a 9, so I would say maybe 8.5.
Yeah, I definitely it's an 8. And that's not to diminish the film at all. It's great. The story structure, the performances, and everything. To me, the what I think I was looking for at the end was a little bit of an edge and a little bit of a dark edge to it. And I think that's it kind of from what I know of Alan Ball, like, maybe it just didn't meet that expectation, but it is a really good story, and I would definitely recommend everybody seeing it.
Yes. And by the way, to me, it's a great Thanksgiving movie, because just in the overall sense of family gatherings. So it is something that kind of fits the theme of its release date.
Well, with that, be sure to like, subscribe, comment below on what you thought of Uncle Frank. And with that, let's get out of here.